The Unhappy Hour on thenewamericanmedia.com.
Broadcasting to you live from the Milky Way Galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, California, Los Angeles to be specific, hello everybody, and welcome to a different time and a different day than you may have been used to over the past 3.5 years, but guess what? It's my network, it's my channel, it's my deal, and that's what I'm doing. Doing some shows in between our normal Fridays, where we do Agree to Disagree and the Unhappy Hour back-to-back from, 4:30 to 5:30 p.m. Pacific. Whatever. There are things going on during the week. I mean, hell, did you see the president and his immigration thing? We'll get to that in the next show on Agree to Disagree, because I've been a concert promoter, and it's very easy. You just check wristbands. You don't have a wristband, you got to leave the venue, show your ID at the front, pay your cover, come back in. Everybody's welcome. That's what America is supposed to be. But if people are sneaking in, it's a totally different story. But, the Raiders are no longer a winless team. They just beat the Chiefs. That's happening on Thursdays now with Thursday Night Football. So, I don't want to wait till Friday sometimes to talk sports. Thank you for joining us here on the Unhappy Hour. I'm your host, Brian Engelman. Thank you. Please do us a favor. Check out our homepage, thenewamericanmedia.com. On the middle right-hand side, you'll see a TNAM radio link. That's where you can click play and listen live to every time we do a show. And we just sent out a tweet and put a message on Facebook. So, for this show, when you might not have been expecting that we were going to do a show, here's all you do. You click that little button on Twitter and you get alerts. You sign up for notifications, and you'll get a little message, hey, we're doing a live show right now. I think I would like to listen to that. And you just click the link and you listen live. So follow us on Twitter. We're at American_media_, and do a search for The New American Media with spaces in between, and like the page on Facebook. Or it's right underneath the TNAM radio, both the Twitter and Facebook links at thenewamericanmedia.com. And finally, go to youtube.com/thenewamericanmedia and subscribe to the channel. We're coming up on, 400,000 video views and over 2,000 subscriptions, and we're really just getting warmed up, and it's been fun. And if you've been one of the many, and thank you, many people, who have been with us for a long time, you might recognize our next guest. He is a former NBA scout, current NBA consultant, and general Cleveland sports fan. This is Zak Baris. Zak, welcome to the program, sir. How you doing today?
I'm doing great, just a little cold.
Yeah, well, that's what you get for you're in Ohio right now, right?
Yeah, well, I was in Florida yesterday, got back last night just in time for the Cavs game. Probably should have stayed in Florida a little bit longer. But it was cold down there. Orlando was in the 30s, so it was pretty cold.
Man, you said Orlando. I thought of Dwight Howard, and man, the Lakers got to win. Go figure. That was weird.
Yeah, 2 in a row now.
I guess they're going to the dance, right?
They'll have the 6th pick in the draft, which will go to Phoenix.
How does that work with the Lakers?
It's a top 5 protected pick this year.
Okay, so if they get if they get to 6, 7, 8, 9, there's no protections.
Yep. Correct.
Wow. Are they top 5 bad team, or are they going to be 6, 7, 8, 9, 10?
I mean, they're terrible, but who knows? I mean, I think they're awful.
Hey, speaking of awful, no, go ahead.
I mean, like I said, being one of the top 5 worst teams doesn't guarantee you a top 5 pick, as we've learned in the past.
That is true. Thankfully, a.k.a. Kevin Love, I'll take it. But, yeah, okay, so the Lakers, God, what was the trade that sent that pick? That was Steve Nash, right?
Yeah, it was Steve Nash.
Man, and he's done, and then he's playing golf. Do you have a problem with that? Like, he goes on, like, permanent disability?
I mean, he might not. I mean, yeah, I do a little bit. What's the guy supposed to do? Sit back in a wheelchair all day or sit back on a couch? I mean, if he's not deemed ready to play, it doesn't mean he can't golf. It's not like golf's a contact sport.
Well, Tiger Woods' ex-wife, I guess the vehicle you're driving.
Yeah, if you beat someone with a golf club, it's a contact sport, but golf in general is not a contact sport.
If you're John Daly, I'm sure there have been more than at least 1 or 2 barroom fights, but yeah, we're just talking the game there. No, talking about getting hit, what do you make of the Adrian Peterson thing as far as, should he come back? Do you think it was too much? I know I'm all over the map.
He deserves to be suspended for the rest of the year, in my opinion.
What was it exactly that he did? He was hitting his kid with a switch, but the kid was a little too young and he hit him a little too much.
Tree branch.
Well, I mean,
the guy deserves to be suspended.
I don't know, man. I got whoopings from time to time. I mean, that was just what you did. I was like,
my parents never hit me, so.
Oh, you're one of those kids.
I'm one of those kids.
I'm one of those other kids. So I don't know. I mean, I guess 4 years old, that's really young. But, Ray Rice and Adrian Peterson, they're challenging this, and their whole season's disappearing. It is really interesting. Like Garrett Blount disappears.
There's a difference between what Ray Rice did and Adrian Peterson. Both are, I don't condone either one of them. Let's put it that way to start. But Adrian Peterson didn't knock his son out. I mean, what he did was terrible. You don't beat up a 4-year-old. No, he was trying to discipline the kid, but still, I like I said, I don't condone either, and I think both of them should be suspended. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's really weird. Talk about suspensions. Josh Gordon, we'll start with the Browns. Why don't we just do that? Because obviously we're going to talk some basketball, because that's the world you've lived in for several years as an NBA scout and now a consultant and whatnot. Talk about suspensions. Josh Gordon is coming back. Did you think it was going to take this long to get Josh Gordon back, or are you more surprised that he's going to get to play at all this year?
No, I'm glad we have him back. That's what, I'm very glad we have him back. That's what I care about. I wanted him back.
And
it's nice to have him back. It really is.
Absolutely.
I mean, let's see how he plays, but I'm sure it's going to be huge.
Yeah, I mean, the Browns cut Ben Tate this week. That offense is going to look a lot different. We're one less running back and the number one receiver in all of football last year. I mean, obviously Megatron and some guys are up there, but Josh Gordon had the most yards in 2 fewer games. I mean, you can't really knock that. What do you think that this is going to do to the offense? First, losing Ben Tate. Do you think that's even a loss at this point? And how much is it going to improve the offense with Brian Hoyer being able to throw to, not just Jordan Cameron, but Josh Gordon?
Well, I think it's going to help immensely. I mean, just the fact that getting Gordon back in the lineup will open up. Miles Austin opens up for Andrew Hawkins. It really opens up. I mean, it's going to take double coverage off. It's tough to guard Gordon in the first place.
Right.
So I think it's really going to open up some. I think it's really going to open up some holes for them.
Yeah, you put the tallest, fastest defensive back in the league on Josh Gordon, you're going to have a real hard time because he's that talented, he's that athletic, he's that dangerous with the ball. Did you like that we cut?
I think they sent a message. Let's put it that way.
I mean, giving the ball to Terrence West and Isaiah Crowell, who's been, let's face it, fumble prone. He did it again last week in what I think is one of the most disappointing losses I've had in a long time.
I left with 4 minutes left.
How disappointing was that? It seemed like that team never really showed up. They had moments, but just they didn't really come ready to play. Kind of like you've seen with LeBron at home so many times this season.
Put it this way, I was pissed. I was really pissed. The missed field goal by Cundiff started up the game on the wrong foot.
Literally.
The fumble by Crowell really you're just like, oh God. That just ended it all, I feel like. That was it.
And they never really got going. How impressive did J.J. Watt, is he MVP caliber?
I've never seen one player make such an impact in a game, ever.
Ever?
He was all over the place.
Yeah, on review, looking at that touchdown, it kind of, I don't know, I didn't have the benefit of the volume.
He caught it. That was clearly a catch by J.J. Watt.
Does it look like he only had one knee down? Don't you need two?
He was in. I'm 100% sure he was in. I'm a Browns fan. He was in.
Yeah. Well, we couldn't stop him. Joe Thomas really didn't let him,
Thomas didn't let him do anything. He was lining up against Schwartz. He was coming in from the tackle. He was coming in off the center, so there was nothing to do. Thomas only allowed one pressure the entire game. That was on Watt had it. It wasn't a sack. It was a pressure. That was it.
Yeah, he did his part. Obviously, like you're saying, they moved Watt around. But this totally changes the way the Browns were feeling. You know, let's not forget, 1 week ago we were in sole possession of first place for the first time in a long time, and all those awesome memes came out on Facebook, and turn it around 1 week later, here we are. We're not at the
they're
top.
also 1 game away from being back in first place.
Yeah, yes, okay, that is true. I will give you that, but it helps the Kansas City loss tonight to Jokeland. I'll take it.
That was big for the Browns. It really was for the wild card.
Yeah, because we both had a big slip up. I mean, in hell, we almost had a slip up to Oakland ourselves.
Yeah.
You know.
Like I said, no games are given in the NFL. You can lose to a crappy team anytime.
Yeah, that's why you look at the Dolphins' record. It's so impressive going undefeated in 72. It's kind of amazing that nobody's been able to replicate that. 82, 92, 02, 12. I mean, you're talking, 42 years since someone's been able to go undefeated? So, yeah, I don't know. What do you chalk the loss up to? Why do you think the team just didn't show up last week?
I think they just made mistakes. You cannot fumble in the red zone. You cannot miss field goals. That was 10 points right there.
And that really is stuff that the old Browns
the
used
ground
to do.
was slippery. It was a cold game. I just, like I said, they hadn't seen any film on Mallet, and it was tough.
Yeah, Mallet got it done. I mean, they found a way to win. I looked through the Browns' schedule here. I can understand that first loss to Pittsburgh, even though we came back, roaring back, almost got him. If we had another couple minutes on the clock, we would have. Lost to Baltimore.
Brian, don't forget they had the ball in a tie game at 27-27 with less than 2 minutes left.
And we let them.
It's a 45-yard line and they lost, so they didn't need more time.
Well,
they had it.
Jacksonville 24-6. Now Houston.
Yeah, you know what? That's another game. Yeah, you lay an egg, but it happens. Like I said, you're not going to win everything in the National Football League, and like I said, if you come out there and you win this week, you're fine.
Well, let's talk about this week. Atlanta's not really having an amazing season themselves, and this is going to be amazing. Josh Gordon on turf. You got to be kidding me. That's like the best thing we could have hoped for, isn't it?
Yep.
What's your prediction for this week?
I'm not going to make a prediction, but I bet they'll win. I bet they will win.
All right. Let me see. I'll go. I'll say that it's going to be 41-20.
You think the Browns are going to put up 41 points?
Yeah. With Flash Gordon? Yeah, I do.
But I hope you're right, 41-20.
Hey, but I'm a homer, I always like to be super optimistic right up until the game, and, sometimes they even prove me wrong. But here's the real question with the Browns coming up, and I want to get to the Cavs here, switching gears. I'm sure you followed the weather thing that's been going on in Buffalo, and it's so crazy this week.
I'm well aware. I've been retweeting it. I thought it was awesome.
What did you like about it?
It's a ridiculous amount of stuff. Buffalo's airport got 4 inches. Just a little northeast got 70 within 4 miles. I think it was 4 or 5 miles.
Oh, it's incredible. It's incredible. And growing up in Cleveland, right off of Lake Erie ourselves, we've seen plenty of rough weather, but nothing like they're seeing there. That's nothing, intense.
No.
I mean, we've had schools closed, we've had crazy situations, don't get us wrong, with the ice and the huge piles of snow, but they're even talking about next week at Buffalo being a problem. Do you think it could still be a problem a week from Sunday? Because we're next.
Here's the deal. Buffalo's supposed to get another 3 feet tonight.
Oh, man.
So that's the issue, is they're supposed to get another 3 feet tonight. And, I don't know if you've seen the pictures of that stadium, but, the playing field is almost in the stands. You're almost at the same level. They've got 7 feet, 8 feet. To clear that out, here's another issue, too, which is going to come into play. It's going to factor in. They're supposed to get another 3 feet tonight. You get 3 feet tonight factored in there. you could be looking at a total of 10, 11 feet in that stadium.
Unbelievable. Remember, excuse me, what was that? That was the Minnesota Vikings. Didn't their roof collapse? Am I thinking of the right stadium, the right dome?
Yeah, you are.
Oh, man. So they're already saying that they're going to move the game for this week for the Bills, right?
Yep.
Is it possible that this could happen again next week with the Browns?
It's very possible, but they wouldn't play it in Cleveland. I guess it would be played in Detroit on a Monday, which in that case I would go.
Reporting to you live from Route 75, Zak Baris on the road.
I'm supposed to be possibly going to the Browns game in Buffalo next week, but it's all weather dependent for me.
Oh, Lord.
Not buying a ticket until I see the weather, and I want to see a win this weekend.
Wait, hold on. Are you normally going to end up in Buffalo this weekend? Is that
not this weekend? Next weekend, I would drive up there for 3 hours. You think I am going to Buffalo for fun?
Buffalo and OKC, your two favorite most happening cities.
Yeah, Buffalo. Yeah, Buffalo looks like we hit by an atomic bomb.
Looks like a snow globe. It really is cartoonish. Seeing the pictures. So I mean, I guess that's something to look forward to. I mean, Josh Gordon outside at Buffalo in those conditions would be totally different. If anybody could get their act together, I'm sure the NFL could find a way to make a stadium right again. But the problem is everybody getting there and all the accidents that it would cause.
Another thing I forgot to finish is that stadium could realistically have 10 feet of snow by the end of tomorrow. And then it's supposed to be in the 50s and rainy. You're going to have horrible flooding around the area there, too. I think that's the biggest concern.
Yeah, that'll be next week for the next game, all the flooding. Exactly.
So, I mean, it's possible. I mean, I just hope that Buffalo ever gets a new stadium that they build a retractable roof or a roof.
Yeah, it doesn't really make a lot of sense that they don't. For the amount of money that teams are spending on this stuff these days, it just seems like that should be something mandated. Although, don't get me wrong, I love...
Most new stadiums are going to be built with retractable roofs because of the possibilities of Final Fours and Super Bowls. That's why.
Right.
And conventions.
That is true. Yeah, and you're not getting that in Green Bay. Welcome to the frozen tundra of the Final Four.
Green Bay doesn't have the hotel rooms anyway, so it won't matter.
That's a good point. That's something Cleveland is improving upon. Getting the
Cleveland has plenty of hotel space. They got the RNC, and there's 6 new hotels set to open up. Cleveland already has a fair amount of hotels, but there's 6 new hotels set to open up in the next couple of months here, within the next year and a half. And so they're not going to have an issue with hotel rooms. I mean, I think they already meet the quota today. 6,000 rooms, and will be well over 7 or 8. And there's another project going up too, but that won't be done by the RNC.
Oh yeah, what was the name of that one? We covered that.
Nucleus.
NUCLEUS.
Yeah.
Nucleus.
That one's supposed to be a massive project, but they're not breaking ground on that until January, and that's still, like I said, it's a bunch of buildings, so it's going to take a good 3-4 years to build.
Yeah, it took
They said they'll have the parking garages done on the buildings open by 2016. They said that's what they're looking at. They'll have the parking garages done.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was looking at that one after we finished our show last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was. That looks amazing, and that's the type of thing you got to think about is if you want your city to compete for, like you said, what do we have? Super Bowls, NCAA Final Fours, big conventions. I mean, yeah, and that's the big deal. I mean, that's what you need in order to compete. Yeah. In
these markets. And one of the reasons Cleveland landed the RNC is because of all the new hotel sets open, and because of all the new apartments. There has to be a sufficient amount of rentals in a city. I mean, another thing is too is you're attracting people to come to your city for tourism. Everything you lay it on the line. There's a good culinary scene here. And the thing is, I'm not trying to be a homer for Cleveland or anything, but, the fact that LeBron's back in town makes something to do.
It's a big
deal.
There's
a bunch of people.
Johnny Manziel, big deal.
I was walking out of my building last night with a Dallas Cowboys player over to the game. It's amazing who you see in this building, whether it's Justin Bieber's stayed here. It's athlete after athlete, musician after musician in here. And it's like, I've seen a couple of actors. I felt like I was back in Hollywood. I felt like I was back home.
Because this, and I'll vouch for that. I've spent 25 years in Ohio, and then I've been in LA for 9 years, but spent enough time in Vegas, and you're up in Hollywood. Where I was working every time when I was at the agency, every time you get on an elevator, it would be, you'd be walking down the hallway. There's Jerry Rice. You turn the corner and it's Bob Saget, the comedian, or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Like every day it was somebody different. Jenny McCarthy. It was just one of those weird places. And when you start recognizing that Cleveland is a place you're going to run into people, you expect that stuff in Vegas or in Hollywood, but not
exactly.
so much
In
Cleveland.
New York, you expect it in those cities, even Chicago. But Cleveland is just like you're always just like sitting there like what? The other day after the Browns game, I'm waiting to get the car pulled up from the valet, and I'm looking at this guy. I'm like, why does he look so familiar? And I'm like, all right, I know who this guy is.
But what guy was it?
It wasn't someone so famous. It was an actor who's been he was in the TV show Prison Break. So I was like, all right. I'm thinking, why does this guy look so familiar? And I'm looking, I'm like, all right, but it's been countless people at this building so far who's been here. So, it's just, like I said, it's a cool scene. It's something, something you didn't see every day. But like I said, when you have expanded tours, there's people coming out to actually see stuff. You have a good restaurant scene. There's stuff to do. It makes it a lot more appealing.
Oh, absolutely. Go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I'm very happy to see it. I really am. And LeBron James, you go look at the Cavs. You'd be hard pressed to try to go on ESPN or TNT or TBS and catch a Cavs game last year. This year, it's almost like that's the home network. Like almost every game is nationalized.
Set up twice out in these sports set up yesterday. And the thing is, here's what I've noticed about the Cavaliers. Here's the thing about the Cavs, which is scary. The Cavaliers lost by 2 last night to the Spurs on a LeBron turnover. They turned the ball over an abundant amount of times last night, and they were still in that game. That's the thing is, as crappy as they played, they were still in that game. They're a very, very, very good basketball team. Yeah, they're 5-5. There's nothing to panic about. They're going to win a lot of basketball games this season, and their early season struggles are going to be nothing in 3 to 5 months. Nothing. So, like I said, this is not a 42-40 team here. LeBron showed what he can do. I was at the Hawks game Saturday night, and holy bejesus, that was the best offense I've ever seen. They had 120 points with 8 minutes left in the fourth.
I liked seeing that. Now, if they could just do that every
You're
game.
going to see a lot of games from them like that this season. Yeah, like I said, they're still going to have their occasional hiccup, and they're still going to play poorly at this point in the season a lot of times.
Well, but the Spurs, if you want to talk about a professional organization that has a system and a lot of people that have been in that system for a long time, David Blatt's brand new. It takes a little while. Mike Tomlin has been the coach for the Steelers for a long time, and the system, and most of their players don't turn over. It's not a big free agent place. The people they draft stay there for a long time, and you develop a rhythm, and that does take some time. The Spurs are tough. They've been nobody has more tenure than Tony Parker and Greg Popovich and
Ginobili, Duncan.
Of course.
You can just plug guys.
So that's a tough team. There's a difference between the Hawks and the Spurs. Big difference.
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt. Like I said, and, the Cavs lost to the Nuggets there, too, but, it's not the end of the world. I'm not sitting here panicking. It's funny when people do because LeBron looks like his old self. Yeah, he's just getting adjusted to playing with these guys. It's tough running a new system. It's entirely new for everyone. Kevin Love's used to playing. Kevin Love's used to dominating the ball. Kyrie Irving's used to dominating the ball. LeBron's used to dominating the ball. It takes a while to adjust. Miami managed to do it, and they won 2 rings out of it, and they went to 4 straight championships. I expect very similar results from the Cavs. I'm not saying they're going a guaranteed victory this year, because San Antonio is going to be a very tough out, and so will the Bulls. But when I get to say this, though, the Cavaliers will very likely be there this year, and there's a very good chance they have to win it all. Just because they're 5-5 means nothing. It really doesn't. As long as you get to the playoffs, it doesn't matter. We saw what Miami did with with the wins in the low 50s. Doesn't matter. You save it. You get adjusted now. You get acclimated to your teammates. You get to know these guys, and suddenly, bam, you start winning games. Like I said, I still fully expect this team to pick up Ray Allen come February, and they're going to make a trade sooner or later, whether it's Dion Waiters, whether it's picking up a center, or whether it's trading Dion Waiters for a center.
Yeah, you just wonder, and that whole not coming, that weird story where he wouldn't come out for the national anthem and something about Islam.
Don't even get me started with that one. Seriously, don't.
Dude, but hold on, that was a big national.
You don't want to know what I have to say about that.
I do want to know in the most diplomatic way you can say it.
I mean, I don't know if you saw my tweets that night, but I just betrayed his ass now.
Well, you know what, Zach? You need to tag us a little bit more at American_media_. You need to remember to do that so we can retweet it to our, 19,000.
I was sitting there at Vegas in dinner in the middle of a bachelor party, and I was pissed.
I hope you're having fun in between being pissed while you're at a bachelor party.
We had just started drinking at that point, so it wasn't that big of a deal. It was like at 6 o'clock.
Oh, 6 o'clock's already pretty late Vegas time. I've unfortunately and fortunately spent a little bit of time over there for a lot of bachelor parties. Go figure. But that was one of those weird stories. Like when you have the notoriety of LeBron James returning home, arguably the most recognizable athlete in all of 2014 in all of the world. I mean, there's no Derek Jeter, there's no Tom Brady that's bigger than LeBron right now. That's not the attention you want. You don't want Dion Waiters won't respect America because he's Muslim. And you're like, what the heck is this thing going on? And then he's like, no, I was misquoted.
Dion Waiters is Muslim?
Yeah, it's like, okay. I didn't. Okay. Not something I gave any. I could probably tell you this, Zach. I had thought about Dion Waiters' religion and spirituality 0 times since I've known his name.
Yep, exactly.
I don't care. I'm very libertarian. I really don't care what most people do most of the time. Just don't punch me in the face. Like, it's very libertarian. Cause no harm. I got way more important things to worry about. But, I mean, does it just kind of seem like, this is the one type of thing you do not want to be doing when you're trying to fit in with this team. And,
no,
and you have three
I don't
superstars
care if you're a Muslim. I don't care if you're a Jew. I don't care if you're a Christian. This has nothing to do with religion. It's your country. It has nothing to God. It's to your country. It's pledging allegiance to your country. That's it. It's it. It's not pledging allegiance to God. It's standing up there and having respect for your country and the people of your country and the people who have fought for your freedom. That's what it's about. And like I said, Deion can do what he wants and he can do as he pleases. I don't have to respect him for it. I don't have to like him for it. And personally, I'm not even going to get into it with Deion Waiters because it infuriates me. And Deion, you know how much I ripped Deion over the years, especially the night the Cavaliers drafted him.
Oh,
at the time, I was not working for the Cavs. I was working for another organization. But I told you privately, I even said it on the show, that was a move that the Cavaliers would regret taking him at number 4. And I was adamant about that.
And I think at the time though you were concerned about the talent and the tweenerness and this and that. But I don't think you and I were really aware of the personality issues.
Oh, I knew his personality was. He had trained with my former agency. I had trained with him for 2 years.
Oh, see,
I
I
knew
wasn't
exactly what he was about. That was why I knew so much about him. And I wasn't a huge fan of him. I wasn't a huge fan at all.
And that was why he was coming off the bench in Syracuse, right?
Yeah, I've never been a huge fan of Waiters when when he used to train in Vegas in the summertime. I can tell you right now, I was not a fan. I did not like working with him.
How did he conduct himself?
Like I said, arrogant. But he came off really well in interviews. He was trained well. I just was hoping, he wouldn't, Like I said, I wasn't working for the Cavs at the time, so when the Cavaliers drafted him, I thought it was a horrible move, and I thought it was another huge mistake by Chris Grant.
Well, we're going to see if we end up trading him now. Either he's going to fit in or he's not. But
I tend to think that, he will be traded. I tend to think they'll trade him for a center in some 3-way trade. I think you could, like I said, again, I think there's somehow a 3-way trade to Atlanta that can potentially involve Al Horford.
What if couldn't he end up over at the 76ers and we could get Nerlens Noel?
The 76ers don't have any talent, and I don't know why. Why would the 76ers give up Noel? I mean, that's another thing.
I don't know, because he's had a knee surgery and he's not. Well,
no, he's been terrible. I mean, it doesn't mean he will be terrible. He's just. I mean, don't forget, there's no talent around him.
Well, and that's also a guy with character concerns, and that's the last thing you want on a championship team.
Exactly my point. And here's another issue I'm going to bring up right now is Philly doesn't have any NBA talent to give up other than Michael Carter-Williams, Tony Roden, and and Nerlens. That's it. And they really have nothing at this point. Joel Embiid's on the bench. There's a serious chance. I'm wondering how Philadelphia is even going to get to 10 wins this year. Doesn't even make sense how they get anywhere close to that.
Do you recall off the top of your head the least wins in NBA history throughout a whole season?
I think it was the Bobcats went 7-59. I think the Sixers actually went 9-73 if I'm not mistaken. I think they went 9-73 a long time ago. I think that was the worst season in NBA history. But technically the Bobcats 7-59 season is the worst.
Wow, nice off the top of your head. Worst 82 game seasons.
I mean the Bobcats in that shortened lockout season went 7-59, and that was pretty bad. But that Bobcats roster looked a lot better than the Sixers roster. Take it for what it is. It looked a lot better than this.
All right, no, that's fair enough. It's just interesting to wonder what might happen to Deion Waiters if the Sixers are involved or if he ends up going somewhere else. But you think about Marshawn Lynch and LeGarrette Blount bouncing back to the NFL. Those are other players that have gotten in trouble for either not, for both of them. Marshawn Lynch and LeGarrette Blount, two starting running back. Well, I guess Blount was behind Le'Veon Bell. But
you're talking about Ben Tate or Marshawn Lynch? I mean, because Marshawn's still starting. He won't be re-signed by Seattle.
Oh, no. But I was saying that they both got in trouble. Marshawn didn't go into the locker room at halftime during the game. He said he couldn't walk or something. He's an odd duck.
Marshawn knows his time is done in Seattle at the end of the year. He's done.
Yeah, he's checking out, man. But I don't know if you saw the video we sent out at thenewamericanmedia.com today, I think on our Facebook page.
I haven't seen it. I've barely been on Twitter today. I was stuck in meetings all day.
Yeah, no, it was just cool. He found some guy's wallet, and then he told one of the guys on his TV.
I did see it.
He's like, hey, man, let's go drop this off. He's like, what are you talking about? That's all the other side of town. He's like, yeah, let's go. And they drove to the guy's house. Dude wasn't home, went to the neighbors, and he wouldn't even identify himself. And, of course, she knew who he was with his dread. He's a very, the dreadlocks are a very strong giveaway, very identifiable trait. And, no, I just thought it was awesome. He just drove to this dude's house. Like, leave him alone. He's just wacky. But, you just get the feeling that something about Deion just isn't going to click. And Lord help me. I hope I'm wrong. I hope they get their crap together. I just hope it works out.
Like I said, my vision for the Cavs is if you can manage to move that trade exception, somewhere in some other deal,
right,
or a three-way deal, because you cannot involve a trade exception and a player in the same deal.
Oh, can you do like a three-way team and then
a third team involved?
Okay.
You have to have a third team involved in order to move that trade exception. So that's the issue. That's the underlying issue.
So you're saying that could either be one deal or two deals?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they cannot trade Deion Waiters in a $5.3 million trade exception for Al Horford. You cannot do that. It doesn't work like that. You can only trade the trade exception for a player.
So what players should we keep our eyes on? Al Horford. Who else?
I think Horford's a name. I think Paul Millsap's a name too. I think those are the two guys in the Hawks you keep your eyes out for. You have to wait. I mean, I think Roy Hibbert's another name on Indiana. Watch out for that one. I thought it was crazy a couple months ago, when people were talking Roy Hibbert for Waiters. But like I said, Indiana is a team that desperately needs a score, and they can get rid of Horford's contract. I mean, not Horford's contract. I'm sorry, Hibbert's contract. So that's a possibility that could arise.
And Hibbert's a big boy.
The Lakers don't have anyone to give up. Obviously, there's Corey Brewer in Minnesota, but I think Flip Saunders is reluctant to trade him right now, and I don't think he'd be a great fit with the Cavs. I think he'd be, he's not a good half-court defender. I'm sorry, he's not a good half-court player in the offense. He's not in the offense. He's not a good not good in the half-court offense. He, his defense is very, very, from what I've seen of him, he's a very aggressive defender. He makes, he'll get you steals, but he also gets burned all the time. He's very hit or miss. There's some games he looks great. There's other times, like I said, he'll get burned real badly. And that's the issue. You can't let that happen with the Cavs. So,
and is it more that in a single game he's that up and down, or from game to game he has complete game funks?
He's also just not good in the half-court offense. He would struggle mightily with the Cavs, I think, offensively.
Oh, okay.
There are guys that I think will become available. I mean, I don't know. The thing is, Orlando really doesn't have any older guys to give up. That's the problem right now. Look at Milwaukee. I mean, Antetokounmpo and Parker having, Antetokounmpo especially, who I couldn't even pronounce his name a year ago in the draft because I didn't do any Euro scouting.
And if you want to double check, go back to the archives and listen. I do remember.
Like I said, I knew nothing about him. That was the issue. I didn't scout him. I didn't even look at him. And
you're like literally. I got nothing. I don't know. Move on to the next one.
I had nothing on him because I didn't do any scouting for him. Like you said, I didn't do Euro scouting. I don't do Euro scouting. I never have. Unless the guy's over here, Ennis Cantor I scouted because Ennis Cantor was over in America. There's a difference. He was over at Kentucky, and there are guys, but with Edigan Trumbull, I mean, he looks like a future superstar in this league, and I mean star. And next to Parker, especially, the other thing is Milwaukee going into the year looked like they had a bad roster, but they had NBA players on the roster. They had O.J. Mayo, Ersan Ilyasova, Brandon Knight, what's his name, Larry Sanders. They actually have decent NBA talent on their team, and they're playing well. And Jason Kidd's doing a hell of a job.
Go figure.
Look at Sacramento. I mean, Sacramento's in the mix right now. That's the thing is you really don't know who's in the mix. I mean, I think the Knicks will eventually sell soon, but they don't have anything to give up. I think the Nuggets will start selling soon, which would be Mozgov. Timothy Mozgov, he's another guy to look at who the Cavaliers were exploring earlier in the season, but that didn't come to fruition. Looking at other teams again, too, it's really tough to say at this point. There aren't a lot of crappy teams out there right now that have good talent to trade. That's the issue.
I mean, you look at
who are the Lakers going to give up? I mean, they can't,
Let's
like
get Kobe.
They're not going to go and trade Kobe. Jeremy Lin is useless.
Yeah, there's not.
Oklahoma City's stuck in a bind. They're not going to go and trade anyone. They're going to try and wait until Durant or Westbrook are both come back. But I mean, it's going to be very tough for them to get in the playoffs because they're playing terrible. I mean, it's not even their fault. I mean, like I said, it's one injury after another with that team in Oklahoma City. You lose your two superstars, and I mean, it's going to be tough to win.
Yeah, especially when you have 5 players on. It's one thing that the Cleveland Browns have lost. Josh Gordon, Alex Mack. Go down the list. Jordan Cameron's missed most of the year. We've had injuries to Phil Taylor, and it's like we're still getting
football,
by. Yeah, there's 11 players.
I mean, the Browns have still played very well considering the amount of injuries they've had. They've had an abundant amount of injuries, and I look at them and I say, wow, it's pretty resilient to see that they're playing this well. If they were healthy, I think they'd be dominating. They'd probably be 8-2 or 9-1 with a healthy roster. Probably about 8-2. I don't think they would have lost too much. And maybe 9-1. Who knows? Maybe I don't know what the record is.
And we have an extra draft pick next year, and these guys are coming back. Like, this team could be filthy next year, the Cleveland Browns.
I mean, yeah, that's another thing too. They could be filthy next year, and they probably will be a very, very good football team next year. They've got a ton of talent.
Yeah, I am happy about that, and before we because I want to swing through to college football real quick. I know we got to let you go here quick. You're talking about a lot of talent. I wanted to get back to a point I made a note on. We didn't really explore. We were talking about how Coach David Blatt is trying to find the right rotations and trying to find the right matchups, and Dwayne Wade, Chris Bosh, and LeBron James used to be a handle the ball all the time, the weight of the world rested on their shoulders kind of players, and then when they came together, they had to figure it out. Same thing with Kevin Love, Kyrie Irving, and LeBron James now. Can you just talk about that dynamic, taking the number one option every game, every time you play, and put 3 of those people on the court at the same time? How tricky that is?
The issue. I mean, I'm sure you played Little League at some time, or when it was, they always in Little League they always tried to separate all the best players. And put one great player in every team. That's what they did. They used to rank kids. And, I mean, it's very, very tough when you're putting that much talent together. Not everybody has a chance to shine. It takes people to adjust, a while to adjust. You're used to looking at your stat lines every night and putting up 26 and 12, or Kyrie Irving putting up 27 a game, and 7 to 10 assists.
Right.
I'm not saying it's an average night for Kyrie, but he was putting up, 23 and 6. And now, it's like, okay, yeah, my assist totals go up, but I can't put up 12 points a game. That's just what these guys are thinking sometimes. And, once you get those stats out of your head, like LeBron obviously doesn't care about his stats anymore. He really doesn't, just wants to win. And, once you get that out of your head, it doesn't matter anymore.
I feel like LeBron is doing that a little too much, though. I feel like
he did that in Miami, too. Don't forget, he would give up the ball. He was very passive at points in his Miami career. because he wanted his teammates to shine. But don't forget, LeBron has been taken over lately. I mean, he took like 37 the other night. I mean, he's been dominating again. And against the Spurs, I think he tried to give it up a little too much, but he's trying to get his teammates comfortable, and that's the biggest thing, and that's the most important. He doesn't want to be relied upon every night to go up and put up 40, because when he can't put up 40, someone else needs to do it. And Kevin Love can do that. Kyrie can do that. You have guys that can score. You've got Dion Waiters that can score. I mean, look what Verjao did against the Spurs last night.
Verjao was amazing. He just looked incredible, and you always overlook that Verjao's on that team, but he's a high-energy, big rebounding, pick-and-rolling machine. He's just energy out there. I hope we get that. I hope we keep that guy all season, and he stays healthy, and we get that kind of production.
I think he'll be fine. But the Cavaliers, I mean, the thing is, David Blatt's rotations are still a major, major issue with this team. And like I said, they will get worked out. It's a matter of time. It's a matter of when, not if they will get worked out. I mean, like I said, you need to figure out what you can do at this point. Losing Dellavedova was a horrible loss for them.
Yeah, you didn't think you didn't think that was going to be such a big position.
No, that's another thing too.
But it was.
The Cavaliers will probably wind up acquiring a backup point guard at some point this season. Will Cherry's all right, but Will Cherry's not the guy you want going in. Into the playoffs.
You're Eric Snow.
Point guard. Eric Snow was a more efficient point guard than Will Cherry.
But
I'm not hating on Will Cherry. I'm just saying the guy's young. It's he could develop to be a decent NBA player.
Oh no! Don't get me wrong. I was just saying that Eric Snow was absolutely not the person you wanted, leading the charge. Just as Mo Williams was better during the regular season, but not so much.
I really wish the Cavaliers would have gotten Mo Williams in that trade involving Kevin Love. These would have been a huge asset to the Cavaliers bench. Huge.
That's a good point. I totally forgot about that, because I was saying the same thing before they pulled the trigger and they didn't announce exactly who was in, and there were speculations. It's like, man, it makes sense to bring him back. It
would have been a really nice fit. I don't know if he could have played with LeBron again after what had happened. But let's put it this way. If you got Mo and LeBron, don't forget there was a team that won 66 games. They were a 44-win team before Mo came on. You brought Mo on, your win total increased by 22 the following season. So take that for a little bit. Mo's also not the player he was,
true,
5 years ago, or 6 years ago. But he's still a serviceable NBA player. I think he would have been a nice fit.
Yeah, I agree with that.
He's still very well liked here.
Yeah, he didn't leave town the way Delonte West did. It was a little different.
No, he was traded for Baron Davis, and and Kyrie Irving. So I think it all worked out for the best.
Yeah, we rented Baron Davis for a minute, traded him in for Kyrie Irving, and used Kyrie Irving as the lure at the end of the hook to go get the big fish, LeBron James, back. I think that worked out okay. Sorry, Mo, but it kind of had to be this way. All right, who's in your top four NCAA? Zak Baris is now in charge of the selection committee.
I've been giving you the same. I've got Kentucky, I've got Duke, I've got Arizona, I've got Wisconsin. I'm sticking to that all season long.
And who?
From what I saw from Kentucky, I think we've got an Arizona, Kentucky fine.
Okay, that's where I was saying. Who emerges from those four? Kentucky, Arizona. Okay.
Don't ask me who's going to win, because I'm not answering that one either.
No, but I will periodically continue to ask you, 76ers or Kentucky?
Looks filthy.
76ers or Kentucky?
It's going to be Philadelphia. Philadelphia is going to beat them, and by a sizable amount, too, probably 15 to 20 points. Here's the thing.
I got to keep asking.
Just because of the experience. I mean, I look back on it now and I go, okay, who would win? The issue is you get down to the benches, and the problem is you look at the college benches, and they have some of those guys will never even smell Europe. They won't even smell the Europe. That's what you have to think of. You have to think of all these guys, even the crappy NBA players. Still, most of them were very good players in college. And that's what you have to get. So Philadelphia would probably beat the crap out of Kentucky. Now, if you take the college all-stars, it's a different scenario, but odds are Philly would probably still win. Philly would beat Kentucky, I think, with ease.
All right. Well, let's get to this other one then. Flip it over to college football. Who's the top four there in the new playoff system?
Ooh.
Yeah.
Alabama. I don't know what's so much more impressive about Oregon than Ohio State. I mean, Oregon lost to Arizona. I mean, they've had Listen, I mean, let's put it this way. I think Ohio State's going to creep into the top 4. And, I mean, I'm a big, big, big J.T. Barrett fan.
Same here. What's Braxton Miller going to do, man?
He's not transferring. I mean, my guess is they're going to mix him in a quarterback. And I think if he wants a legitimate shot at the NFL, you're going to play him over tight end slash running back. You're going to give him a couple different places to try out there because he's a hell of an athlete. He just doesn't have the arm to be a quarterback in the NFL.
Huh. Interesting.
But you can always mix him in there. I mean, don't forget, he's a top 5 quarterback in college football, maybe even top 3. You know, next year you might have 2 of the top 3 or 4 quarterbacks in the nation next year.
And I think we got a really big recruit coming in, too. Somebody from high school as well.
Another 5-star. I mean, don't forget, you've got Dontre Wilson, you've got Jalen Marshall. I mean, you are loaded with speed for next year. I mean, this team is, next year they're going to be insanely good. I mean, don't forget what they're doing. This is a bunch of freshmen and sophomores. Herb's finally got his guys. I mean, they're going to be filthy next year.
Yeah, that is a good point, man. Urban, it takes several years to cycle your guys through the system. You know, right up until the beginning. From the beginning up until a few years in, you're still playing with somebody else's hand. You know, it takes a while to reshuffle the deck and, start fresh with your own chip stack and start a new tournament. And that's kind of where Urban's at this point.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't really get Mississippi State in there.
I think Mississippi State, they had a loss at Alabama. Like I said, Ohio State lost to Virginia Tech at home. That's the one thing that's just holding them back, and it's been a tough loss. But like I said, it's not the end all. They're number 6. They're creeping back up there. And, with 3 games left to play, if you can go out there and blow out Wisconsin, in the Big Ten title game, maybe they can vault you up there. 2 of those teams that, every year we have this. Every year we always go, okay, you're not going to be able to get in. You're not going to be able to do this. And what do you know? 5 of the top 6 teams lose in the final 2-3 weeks of the season every year. There's a decent chance they could be number 2 in a couple of weeks.
You're absolutely right about that.
So I'm not sitting here panicking at 6. I'll panic I'll panic in a few weeks, but now's not the time to do it.
And you know what? Going in and beating a number 25 Minnesota team on the road in the snow, you know what?
Don't forget that. They should have won by 40 points. They had a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, but we're reaching the point.
Idiot, punt return.
Yeah.
Ugh. Don't get me started, but they still won.
We're reaching the point, though, now, because we've seen this in a couple of games, even with Michigan State. We should have blown them out, not by 20.
They did blow away Michigan State.
Yeah, but that should have been a 40-point beatdown. We had like 4 or 5 either fumbles or failed attempts at takeaways. Just everything bounced the exact opposite way, because that could have been, and I don't want that to become a pattern with this team. We saw it with, like you said, with the Browns last week. You miss a field goal. You fumble it inside the 20. Like, these are things you cannot recover from. These are the dumb, the dumbass things that lose games for mediocre teams. And the Buckeyes, really, it was way too close in overtime with Penn State. I think keeping 7 points against number 25 Minnesota. I think if we could have blown Michigan State out by more,
Michigan State, and that's what counted.
Really, it is a 1-game season at this point with an asterisk. With the early loss on the season, that's the asterisk, and I think that might be what it comes down to, Zach, isn't it? Who's your biggest win and what's your biggest screw up, and that's the balancing act there, right? For these judges, these selectors.
Exactly. Well, unfortunately, I hate to cut this short, but it's 1:20 in the morning. I really got to get going to bed.
Well, we've pretty much extinguished just about all I had to talk about today. If you're not following Zach, please make sure that you do. He's over at Z Baris on Twitter. That's ZBARIS. So, Zach, I do appreciate it, man. Like I said, it was a different day, a different time. I know the Fridays don't work for you as well a lot of times, and I appreciate you spending the night on the radio program here at the TNAM Radio Network, talking Indians and Cavs and Browns and Corey Kluber at the Cavs game yesterday, along with Hulk Hogan.
That was awesome. That was awesome when they honored him. He got a very loud ovation.
Absolutely, he earned it. Corey Kluber, Cy Young, just absolutely incredible, man. All right, well, hey, you take care. We'll be talking with you soon. And
Thank you, Brian. I appreciate it.
The NBA season's always interesting enough where it's like just give it a week or two, there'll be a new storyline. So you have a good night. We'll talk again soon. Everybody, if you haven't been to our homepage, it's thenewamericanmedia.com. Please make sure that you go check that out. On the right-hand side, a little way down, it's our Twitter and Facebook feed. On Twitter at American_media_ and on Facebook, do a search for The New American Media, and make sure that you subscribe, youtube.com/The New American Media. Yeah, you know, the president came out with this immigration thing today. You know, that's not his job to write laws. He's the executor, the chief executive. That's not his position. You know, and this is just kind of simple for me as a promoter. You show your ID, you get your wristband, and you come on in and everybody has a good time. This isn't complicated. Just do it the right way, and everybody come on in and have a good time. We'll talk about that on Agree to Disagree coming up in a little bit. I appreciate you. Peace.
You are listening to The New American Media.